Well, hello, Michael here again, and today we're wrapping up Job 31 as we go from verse 16 to the end. And we're going to look at the Matthew Henry commentary before we read those verses. So let's do that. In regards to verse 16 to 23, Matthew Henry uh, writes, Job's conscience gave testimony concerning his just and charitable behavior towards the poor. He is most large upon this head, because in this matter he was particularly accused. He was tender of all, and hurtful to none. Notice the principles by which Job was restrained from being uncharitable and unmerciful. He stood in awe of the Lord, as certainly against him if he should wrong the poor. Regard to worldly interests may restrain a man from actual crimes, but the grace of God alone can make him hate, dread, and shun sinful thoughts and desires. As regards verse 24 to 32, he writes, Job protests, 1. That he never set his heart upon the wealth of this world. How few prosperous professors can appeal to the Lord that they have not rejoiced because their gains was great. Through the determination to be rich, numbers ruin their souls, or pierce themselves with many sorrows. He never was guilty of idolatry. The source of idolatry is in his heart, and it corrupts men, and provokes God to send judgment upon a nation. He neither desired nor delighted in the hurts of the worst enemy he had. If others bear malice to us, that will not justify us in bearing malice to them. He had never been unkind to strangers. Hospitality is a Christian duty. And in regards to verse 33 to 40, he writes, Job clears himself from the charge of hypocrisy. We are loth to confess our faults, willing to excuse them, and to lay the blame upon others. But he that thus covers his sins shall not prosper. John 1:8. Let us all judge ourselves. Wherein we are guilty, let us seek forgiveness in that blood which cleanseth from all sin. And may the Lord have mercy upon us and write his laws in our hearts. So then let's look at those actual verses then as written in the scriptures. Verse 16. If I have withheld the poor from their desire, or have caused the eyes of the widow to fail, or have eaten in my morsel myself alone, and the fatherless hath not eaten thereof. For from my youth he was brought up with me, as with a father, and I have guided her from my mother's womb. If I have seen any perish for want of clothing, or any poor without covering, if his loins have not blessed me, and if he was not warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have lifted up my hand against the fatherless when I saw my help in the gate, then let mine arm fall from my shoulder blade, and my arm be broken from the bone. For destruction from God was a terror to me, and by reason of his highness I could not endure. If I have made gold my hope, and have said to the fine gold, Thou art my confidence, if I have rejoiced because my wealth was great, and because my hand had gotten much, if I have beheld the sun when it shined, or the moon walking in brightness, and my heart hath been secretly enticed, or my mouth hath kissed my hand, this also were an iniquity to be punished by the judge. For I should have denied the God that is above, if I rejoiced at the destruction of him that hated me, or lifted up myself when evil found him. Neither have I suffered my mouth to sin by wishing a curse to his soul. If the men of my tabernacle said not, O that we had of his flesh, we cannot be satisfied. The stranger did not lodge in the street, but I opened my doors to the traveler. If I covered my transgression as Adam by hiding mine iniquity in my bosom, Did I fear a great multitude, or did the contempt of families terrify me, that I kept silence and went not out of the door? Oh, that one would hear me! Behold, my desire is that the Almighty would answer me, and that mine adversary had written a book. Surely I would take it upon my shoulder, and bind it as a crown to me. I would declare unto him the number of my steps, as a prince would I go near unto him. If my land cry against me, or that the forests likewise therefore complain, if I have eaten the fruits thereof without money, or have caused the owners thereof to lose their life, let thistles grow instead of wheat, and cockle instead of barley. The words of Job are ended. And it's really quite an experience to look at these penned words of Job, because clearly he was God conscious, and would inflict on himself the punishment that he think God would ascribe to him should he transgress as he had been accused. And it is to show that men who are not God conscious and not fearing God do all kind of atrocities with impunity, because they have no respect for the order of God, for the guidelines of God, for the mercies of God, for the grace of God, and for the punishments or for the wrath of God. It's just such a big difference. One who is God conscious versus one who is not God conscious. I'm reminded of when those Jews, they shouted for Barabbas. They shouted for Barabbas. They would rather Barabbas than Jesus. They had everything bad to say about Jesus, when all he did in their midst was good. And they shouted for Barabbas. Oh Job, oh Job. It's wonderful to read the words of Job and to see what would beset one if he transgress. Well, hope you enjoyed the reading. I certainly am enjoying it. It's not everything I want to see, but then you got to deal with it. Lord, I thank you for your word, and I declare you, Lord, as Lord. I declare you as Lord. Jesus, you are Lord.